My beard is getting long.
Yeah.
It's a bushy
I like
beard
it.
right now.
You look like the world's most interesting man, or whatever the beer guy was from a decade ago. Like this is a great look.
I think you look like the guy that created Star Wars.
George Lucas?
Yeah.
What? No, you're way better looking than George Lucas.
No, so I might be aging. All right, this is a long-running thing. My friend Andrew Main realized that when I was in my 20s that I looked like a young George Lucas.
See?
And I once was wearing, just randomly, I was wearing a flannel t-shirt and I was at Star Wars Celebration, which is a big convention that Star Wars has. And I was approached by an old George Lucas cosplayer to take a picture with me because he assumed that I was dressed in young George Lucas cosplay. That's because amazing. I was wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, which when you look at old set photos of like George Lucas shooting the original Star Wars, that's what he's wearing. I was doing it completely accidentally. And when I tell you Andrew was there at Celebration, I've never seen somebody laugh harder in my life, convulsing to the point of falling on the floor. He was tickled and delighted. So you are not the first person to say that I look like George Lucas.
I don't think it's an insult. I think he looks like cuddly and.
Yeah, no, I'm good with it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, he's not bad looking.
I have also gotten, though, Heaton, the most interesting man in the world. I was doing a TikTok on the Trump Paxton endorsement a week ago, one that bore fruit last night as we are recording this. And that was like a big comment, was like, are you becoming the most interesting man in the world? And I'm like, well, you want to know what? That's fine. That's a lane in politics that nobody's taken. Ethnically ambiguous bearded man. Although I will say that it is good that we're talking so much about Iran, because in YouTube art, if it's just me with this beard saying like, what's the latest in Iran? And I have like a finger up, like you look at that and you're like that dude knows about Iran. Yeah.
Those are eyebrows that speak Farsi right there.
Exactly, right?
And then in the clip, Justin, whatever, always go Iran like that. Yeah. Like you have some special understanding of proper pronunciation. Like if somebody says hummus, I'm like, oh, they know, they've been to Israel or something. Know what if they say hummus. They know.
There's something, it's like, there's like a pause that you can have when you really want to seem like you know something about Middle Eastern foreign policy. You could just, if you just pause for like an extra second and a half and you're like, Iran is a special culture. Like immediately you're like, oh, okay, now this guy knows a lot more than a random person. So I should just do that more. I should say Iran. Although mostly I'm just copying the Iron Sheik whenever I say Iran. Who was Iranian. He escaped Iran when the Islamic regime came in. He would actually he would have been thrilled to see the Ayatollah killed. He was not a fan of that regime.
Real quick, do we know how that's going? Here's what I mean by this. I'm hearing completely different interpretations of what's going on right now. So there's some national security guys that I know here in DC, military or national security guys. They're like, look at the scoreboard. We've knocked out 3 levels of leadership in Iran. Like we're doing, this is amazing. Like imagine if we blew up the Pentagon, we did that, or if they blew up the Pentagon, we did that for them, right? But then all of the media people I follow say we're losing the war and they're just going to hold out until it becomes politically unpalatable, and then Iran will win, and also the Strait of Hormuz will be a toll booth for them from now on. So like, what can you all sort this for me? How do I figure this out?
I don't think anybody. I think anybody who's too confident in telling you what is happening is probably lying to you.
Yeah.
I
don't think the people negotiating know what the hell is going on. I think that's a big part of the problem. I mean, this weekend was such a whiplash. We're so close to a deal. Now we're going to bomb you. Like, I don't know how you trust anything when the people we have to ask the questions of are shameless liars. So to answer your question, do I have any insight? No, I'm trying. But no.
Yeah. I think that there's a few moving pieces. I don't think that there's any cohesive leadership within Iran. They have a supreme leader that alternates.
Still haven't seen him.
That alternates between like infirmed, hard to get in touch to, or in a coma. And I've heard all of those things from people that I trust, people that I think are not dummies on this kind of stuff.
Well, it's been 2 months and we still haven't seen the guy. That's odd.
So I think it's like bare minimum, he's disfigured to the point where they don't want to put him on television, and they don't feel that he can speak in a way that would give voice to the regime.
Alternate theory, hair transplant. He still has that like kind of red, that red stuff, but he's like a few weeks away, and then he's gonna look great.
Well, he's got to get, he's got to get in position for Pride Month, so he's got to get it all edged up.
My mind goes
Slay
back
Queen.
to when I first started doing stand up. I went to the Looney Bin in Oklahoma City, and I watched stand up there like for weeks at a time before I even got on stage. Right, and this is still during the Bush years. This is prior to Obama, and I remember there was a comic that came up there that was like, everybody's saying that we went into Iraq for the oil. I drive a van. We better be. That was his position. Like, on the flip side, I'm about to go on a road trip across the country, and I'm going to be towing my camper. If they could wrap this up real quick, that'd be good. Like, I'm just saying.
So, like, there is, I think, a very interesting question as to who has more pressure put on them, and the popular understanding is that we have more pressure put on us. I don't know if that's true. If Donald Trump is willing to sacrifice his presidency, his legacy, and his party to win an argument, then, and I don't think that we've seen anything that suggests that he's not, then the worst thing that can happen for Donald Trump is that the Republican Party is irradiated, he is repudiated as a failure, and then a Democrat gets elected. That's pretty much the worst case scenario for him. The worst case scenario for the IRGC is that they're dragged into the streets and fucking killed and shot and raped. So it's like their worst case scenario is a lot worse than our decision makers' worst case scenario. The question is whether or not we are going to do something in between. And what my, again, amateur hour guess is that you do have both sides that want some kind of resolution. The question for both of them is how they sell a resolution to their locals. And the Iranian locals include IRGC members who desperately just want to shoot every missile they have.
Our locals are Israel. Because they do seem to be sabotaging anything we're trying to do.
I don't think that's true. I think that's ridiculous.
Absolutely think that's true.
How?
Because
Why? Anytime
we get close to a deal, they start bombing Lebanon, which Iran says like the bombing in Lebanon needs to stop. It's a part of the deal. There's a pattern here, and it just happened again.
Yeah. So wait, hold on. Let me just cement this just so we have this going forward. So we are now understanding that Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy, right?
I feel like that's been established a long time ago.
Just so, I mean, because it tends to fluctuate, like where it's like, okay, well, Hezbollah is actually a popular movement within Lebanon, but like if we are understanding that is a negotiation point from Iran, I just want to cement that for people.
Oh, they've been very clear about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. As long as we are good on that. Yeah. I mean, look, Israel is going to be specific about asks that are made of them on a war that they have a border with, but I don't know if that is going to ultimately be the end of, I mean, like the things that need to happen, the thing that needs to happen for us to go away, for America to go away is the, as Trump calls it, the nuclear dust, whatever the version of the highly enriched uranium needs to be removed from the country. That's what makes America leave. And that has nothing to do with Lebanon or Israel.
I think that the two governments want different things. I think the American government wants Iran to be a liberal capitalist buddy and for the Middle East to calm down and be peaceful. I think the Israeli government wants Iran to be weak, and that's a different outcome that we're looking at. If I were Israel, excuse me, the Israeli government, let's say, and I were a realist, I would want Iran to be in a civil war for a while, and ideally for the various ethnic pockets that comprise that country to split up so that it's balkanized. That would be a good outcome for me. But that's different than what America wants. We want no nuclear weapons, and then we want them to go back to being a liberal democracy. But I don't think we're as bothered about them being powerful as long as we're buddies with them. I don't think Israel wants them to be powerful. They want that to go away.
How would you define power?
Having
economic or militarily?
Military.
Okay.
Like have the ability to bomb Israel when Israel bombs its neighbors. Like right now, Iran's really the only power that can fight Israel. If Iran is taken out, Israel is pretty much the undisputed military power in the region.
I mean, they haven't really hit Israel as much as they've hit UAE in this war. They've hit UAE with more missiles than they've hit Israel.
Israel's been hit quite a bit.
Check the scoreboard, baby.
Well, that's the thing. I don't trust the fucking scoreboard either. A lot of these countries are not letting their people film this stuff and tell us. I mean, the internet's been off in Iran it's just now coming back online. I don't know how we can trust any scoreboards at this point.
So your supposition would be that more missiles have hit Israel than UAE?
I have absolutely no idea.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because we also don't know what the damage that our own bases have taken. I feel like we're being lied to about that too. There's so many lies that I don't know how to analyze all the lies.
Sure. I mean, that is not unique in war.
But I think it's at this, I don't trust the Trump negotiators to the level that, I think our Pentagon would lie to us about how many of our people have been injured. They would lie to us about our bases. I think they would lie to Congress. I feel like I don't trust our side. It's not normal. I think it's very normal to not trust the enemy, but I don't trust us either in this case. So
I don't trust any party in the middle of a war. It benefits no party to tell the truth during war.
Yeah, but even during the Iraq war, when bad shit happened, there was testimony about it. And there were people who had to go to Congress and be like, yep, it's not good, but here's what we're going to do about it. There was an admitting of when bad shit happened. It's all rosy when you listen to these Trump people. It's all going great. We're winning. They're fucked. And it's very Trumpy. We've heard this before, but when it comes to this war, this doesn't feel like the others in that we're not even getting the acknowledgement that anything bad has happened. So how can we trust anything they're telling us at all? I trust none of it. And it's frustrating. I'm trying to watch international news. They seem just as lost as I am. So I don't know. I don't want to analyze something when I can't trust the underlying facts. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think there are macro signs that you can look at. There are
the Strait of Hormuz is still shut down. I don't think that indicates we're winning. Listen to Donald Trump, we're winning. But we're not.
I mean, the question is, and this is where I think the American position is we could open up the Strait of Hormuz, but that means boots on the ground. And what we don't want to do is put boots on the ground. Because if we put boots on the ground, number one, boots on the ground tend to stay on the ground. And number two, if we are in charge of opening the international waterway, then it becomes very hard it becomes our job to do it forever. And so what they don't want to do is that. It is not militarily impossible for us to do it. It is militarily probable that people will die while doing it. Yeah. And so that is where we are at. We have a fairly low death count by all accounts. And I think what they want is a solution that keeps it there, that they can say, here's what we got, and 13 people died, which is probably about the amount of people that die per year from Iranian proxies in any year. The amount of Americans that die from those forces. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. The reality of the global inflation spike that's going to happen from this is definitely real. As is, I believe, based on how Iran is behaving, the fact that they are at a situation where they are out of room to store the oil that they are pumping, and they're probably at a point where they are risking damaging their ability to pump oil, which is the reason why they're even talking about a memorandum of understanding as opposed to saying, fuck you. Because I think that would normally be their modus operandi if they felt that they had the cards.
I just noticed that Justin is wearing open AI socks.
Wait, yeah, we'll have to wait for the what's it called? For the AI emails that are coming up. Yeah, these are from Dev Day last year. They're
Justin, you going to go to Vegas? Andrew May's going to be in Vegas,
Fest?
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, fuck yeah. We're going to go to Vegas?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
I'm going to be in Vegas like
there
twice in like a month because DEF CON's not far off from there.
I'll be there Tuesday night. I think I'm doing stand-up Wednesday. And then I think I'm done by like Friday. So Saturday is going to be the debauchery day, by which I mean I will go see Cirque du Soleil.
Nice.
We got to do something funny to go into the title. We can't just end with planning.
Planning what?
Planning Andrew's summer.
Well, I mean, do you guys want to hear about how fucked my situation is right now?
Yes, please. Yeah.
So my movers, we're leaving Austin for the summer. My movers arrive in 9 days. The plan is to put our shit in a U-Box. Joe's going to drive our car to LA so that my dad can have it for the summer. And then I'll fly with the dog and we'll go along our merry way. Last week, might be 2 weeks ago at this point, I don't know, our air conditioning broke for the third time.
Okay.
And Joe's going to have to drive through Texas, Arizona, Palm Springs, like in June.
In your car.
In our car.
Gotcha.
Yes. So for the third time, the air conditioning breaks. So we take it to a different Honda dealership because I thought the first one we were going with was kind of shady. And so we went to a different Honda dealership. Long story short, they found a contaminant inside the refrigerant. Like there's a certain kind of refrigerant that has to go in our car. 10% of it was a different kind of refrigerant. It corroded our system so badly that we need a brand new air conditioning system. And the bill is over $15,000.
Adi. What?
$15,000.
$15,000.
How much is the car worth?
They offered us $14,000 the last time we had it there. But now that the entire air conditioning system is fucked, like I don't even know if we could get that. So right now we're trying to go back to the other dealership we were using because like Joe has taken such good care of this car. It's always gone to Honda dealerships. The air conditioning has only been touched by this one dealership. We know exactly like if a different refrigerant got in there, we know who did it because there's only one possibility. They're refusing to take any responsibility for it. We can't get Honda corporate to call us back. And we have to drive this fucking thing in a week. And I just feel like my family has been loyal Honda customers for so long. And this is going to be the make or break. If they don't help us with this, I don't know what we do. But Joe and I are now in the situation of like, I'm kind of hoping, like, I know that this might be wrong, but I'm kind of hoping to use our influencer powers right now. If anyone wants to tweet at Honda and tell them to fucking help me, I will take all the help I can get. Or if we have someone who knows someone in Honda corporate, I know I was surprised to learn that a CEO of a major corporation was a fan of Congressional Dish. So I never know who's in the audience. But like at this point, we need help. This first dealership.
So where you are at a situation now where you've only ever taken it to one dealership. Mm-hmm. You would like some kind of restitution.
I want them to fix the AC system. Like I want them to pay to get the AC system fixed because they clearly broke it. We've already paid them to fix it twice. And not only did they not do that, they contaminated the system somehow to the point that it's completely fucked. So, yeah.
I got a question. Why does your dad need the car? Does he not have a car?
They have one car. So when we're not in the States, we like to give them the second because like my dad, he works at, he volunteers somewhere on Fridays. And so that means that my stepmom doesn't have a car on Fridays. It's just nice for them to have. So that is one of our backups. One plan we're kind of running over in our heads is like maybe we leave the car here in Austin until October. And that way we can deal with this when we get back because they don't actually need the car. That's one option. Maybe we get rid of it entirely. But like, honestly, everything about the car is fine except for this air conditioning system, which was broken by them. And so if we could just get this fixed, like the car is still great. It's not a dangerous car.
Can I ask you if they were to honor the price that they had initially offered you before it was broken, would you take it?
So maybe.
Okay.
So we're even at the point now that I'm looking at, because we're going to come back here for at least 6 months in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at different apartment buildings that are actually like around here. Joe's going to pick me up from your house.
Yeah.
And we're going to go and look at those. I found one that is walking distance from an Enterprise. And I'm kind of doing the math in my head where it's like the savings in rent minus the insurance and the maintenance and all the shit that goes into owning a car. If we're able to just kind of rent a car on Wednesdays, I do all the grocery shopping and the We're Not Wrong stuff and then just Uber as needed. There's a world in which maybe I can live in Austin without a car. But this isn't the easiest place to live in without a car. So we're running just all these scenarios in our heads and I'm not sleeping because it's just like, what are we going to do? And the time crunch of it, like we have 9 days.
All right. No, I'm not saying that this is possible or even probable, but you never know who's listening.
That's what I'm saying.
Let me ask. Somebody, either through private means or through Honda, will take that car off your hands. And they will give you a new car. And free and clear, a new car. However, it's a gigantic truck. Would you take it?
Honestly, no.
Gas only.
No, Joe and I are like, we love.
It burns twice the gas and it's rolling coal, but it's free. And it's absolutely brand new and it will run for 20 years.
Jen, I think
No,
the answer to this
I
is
like
pretty
my
clear.
car.
You and Joe just need to suck it up and take up skateboarding. Just learn to skateboard.
Yeah, bro.
Get around town by skateboard, like in the 90s with the cool backwards hat.
You know, when I
And a
was a kid,
Walkman.
I had a skateboard. It was a Bart Simpson skateboard, and I really, really liked it. And it got run over by my mother's car, and I maintain to this day that was not an accident.
Oh, damn.
I don't think it was an
So
accident.
Jen,
Shots
I think
fired.
we're getting to the bottom of this. We know
I
that
don't
your
think she
mom,
wanted a skater daughter, and
your
certainly
mom
not with Bart
destroyed
Simpson.
the skateboard. I, for one, think she introduced the contaminant to your car. I think this all goes back to Mrs. whatever your mom's maiden name is. Mrs. McGillicuddy.
Yeah, you can just call her Mrs. J.
Yeah.
From Austin, Texas, I'm Justin Robert Young, joined by...
Jennifer Briney.
And from Washington, D.C.
That's you.
I'm Andrew Heaton.
And
Sorry, I
they
was
are
thinking.
sleepy.
I am
And
sleepy. I
also-
slept very poorly last night.
And also not wrong. On this edition of the program, we're going to talk about how our worst climate change scenario has been averted, according to the IPCC. What we should take from that. And social media influencer scrutiny in the California governor's race. That might well actually be a bigger story. That is something that is kind of bubbling up in a few different veins. Let's go ahead and get into everything. Vox argues that the most extreme climate scenario, RCP 8.5, boy, they have a way with names, huh? Has effectively been retired by scientists because of its assumptions that massive coal expansion, very high population growth, and no climate policy no longer match reality. Falling clean energy costs, emission trends, and existing climate policy now point to a roughly 2.5 centimeter to 3, or not centimeter. What is it? Centigrade? What is the temperature? Celsius? Sorry.
We're all firing on all cylinders.
What are you, French?
Yeah, what the fuck? What am I supposed to know what this
Speak
is?
Christ's English. Use Fahrenheit.
Exactly. 2.5 C to 3 C of warming by 2100, not 4 to 5. This is genuine progress, but not a victory. A 2.8 Celsius world still means severe damage, coral loss, species extinction, and water scarcity and sea level rise. If that happens, Jen, let me ask you this. While the IPCC never stated that the worst case scenario was the most likely, the anchoring of that possibility often helps shape coverage and conversation around climate change. Was this good?
I absolutely think it was good. I mean, so as a dear friend of mine, Justin Robert Young, told the world recently, I'm kind of autistic when it comes to weather and climate and shit. So
True.
I read these reports. I've been reading them for years, and they have different scenarios. And so they would give you the worst case scenario, and that's what this was. And like it was, if we don't stop using coal, if we have a population of 12 billion, if we have like, there were all these things that were possible with the first report. I believe we're up to 7 reports, but with this first report, when we didn't have a thriving solar industry, when we didn't have a thriving wind industry, when it looked like China was going full speed ahead on nothing but fossil fuels, it was a different situation 15, 20 years ago. And so they were just telling us, if we do nothing, this is where we think it could go. And they always couched it in, these are predictions. Like we can't predict the future, but just based on the science, this is where it could go. And it really makes sense to me that at this point, now that we are measuring, you know, my husband's solar projects in gigawatts, and China has all this green energy, and we have electric cars. And it's like, even with the stranglehold that fossil fuels has on our government, we're still making all of this progress, and the market is actually doing a pretty damn good job of it, because solar is just competitive now financially. So is wind. We have had so much progress that it makes sense that they would be like, okay, this worst case scenario that was predicated on us doing nothing, we've clearly not done nothing. And so that's no longer possible. But back when that was a do nothing scenario, I think it was wise for them to tell us this. I don't think that it would have helped us to be told like, the middle of the road only, because I don't know if it would have spurred the action that we've seen. So I think it's good to know what's possible. And I also think it's good to know when we have averted the worst case scenario. And you did put in your intro, and you're right. Just because we've averted the worst case doesn't mean we're on a great track. The world and the Paris Accords, they tried to get us to stay beneath 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming. It looks like we're already surpassing that even now. So we're still not on the best track, but we're not on the worst. And I think it's good to know that they're willing to take those predictions back. It makes me trust the reports even more.
One question. One of the things that I think is one of the more tricky elements of trying to message anything about climate change, and I would say any kind of issue that people take particularly seriously, if not existential, is catastrophic thinking and projections. These worst case scenarios, while you are correct, they were never stated as the most likely in any of these reports. In popular discourse, they were often referred to as, if not certainties, then realistic outcomes. Do you think that level of catastrophic thinking did damage to the climate change movement, of people saying, well, they kept saying that all the cities were going to be underwater? And this is something that you see a lot, where it's like you pull old clips of environmental activists saying, you know, by 2023, awful thing is going to happen. And now we're 3 years beyond that, and everything kind of feels like it did back then. You know, that means that we should trust these people less. Do you think that there was any kind of reputational or trust damage because of not the report itself, but the way that it was discussed?
Oh, yeah. And okay. I think that the people that deserve the reputational damage are the people that didn't bother to read the actual report and say that this is what could happen on a trajectory where we do nothing. Instead, they did clickbait journalism, where they decided to take this trajectory, not explain the conditions that were in the report that said that this is what could happen if, and instead said this is what will happen regardless. So I think there was a lot of irresponsible people that did damage, because that's how you get people being like, oh, well, it still snows, so climate change isn't real. Because when you have that much bullshit out there, people just dismiss the whole thing. So yeah, I think there was a ton of damage, but I think it was damage done by lazy journalists, not the writers of the report, because I thought they were quite careful in all 7 versions.
I would add politicians to that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I wouldn't just put it on the journalists.
But I know for a fact that no one's really listening to the politicians unless the journalists give them the air, because I watch C-SPAN all the time. They say whatever the fuck they want and no one does anything about it. It's, you know, when you have a politician that gets to say this stuff unchallenged and it's reported in print and on television, as if it makes any sense, which happens all the time, that's how their stupid messages get amplified.
Heaton, was this good?
I think I broadly share the perspective of, I don't really blame the IPCC. Scientists are not responsible for bad science communication downstream. I do think it was bad for environmentalism as a whole when we're looking at hack journalists, dumb politicians, and pseudo-religious fanatics. But before we get into that, can we just have a victory lap for a second? Yeah. Because there's been so much talk of doom and gloom about the environment for my entire lifetime. Can we just, hey gang, worst case scenarios off the table. Woohoo! Great. Yeah. Let's all have a nice day, right? Solar panel prices have dropped 90% since 2010. That's crazy. That's nuts. That's wonderful. Battery power has incredibly accelerated in terms of lithium batteries and all the technology around there. American greenhouse emissions peaked around 2007. They've been falling ever since then. Europe has more forests now than 100 years ago. Humpback whales, bison, and wolves have all come back. Lead exposure has collapsed. And remember that ozone thing we were all worried about when we were kids? That's healing. That's going away. It's great. There's good stuff happening right now. And this is another example of that. For anybody that's really irritated with me saying that, hold on to that for a minute because I've got a theory. So this brings us back here. I'm really glad, Jen, that you point out that the IPCC was giving a menu. I'm also very impressed that you read the reports, by the way. Very few people did that. I never did it. Like, hats off to you for doing that. That is my understanding.
I mean, it was climate doom porn, to be fair. My motivations weren't journalistic, but they were.
But what was it? Did they? My understanding is that they would give you a menu of options and say, this is the most, and the most the apocalyptic one was never very likely. Like, that was always low impact, high impact, low probability. But
it was the most entertaining chapter. So that's
I have no doubt. Yeah. But I don't blame that. It makes sense if you're writing a suite of possibilities to go, if nothing else changes, this is what's going to happen, which was never going to happen because something else was going to change. Like, we're very good at projecting problems onto the future. We're very bad at foreseeing solutions to those problems. Like, nobody foresaw an Israeli defense company inventing USB drives and that saving more trees than Arbor Day. Like, no one saw that coming, but that happened, right? The big threat on
Shots
the IPCC.
Fired to Arbor Day.
You know what? Like, I spend money planting trees every year. So yay Arbor Day, I'm pro tree. But all the same, though, my efforts are paltry compared to that of USB drives. And with that particular projection, I never believed the doomsday scenario with that because it was predicated on the idea that carbon would increase as all of the third world nations industrialized, and that would create a major problem. What was never imputed into those statistics was if the third world and the second world all modernize, industrialize, and become technologically advanced technologies, that means that there's going to be a fuck ton of Einsteins and Steve Jobs that are currently living in abject poverty that are now part of the global economy. And they would be coming up with an incredible amount of technological advances that we can't foresee. So I was never particularly bothered by the massive one. If we want to put this in other terms, you could kind of express this in terms of asteroid impact. There is a low probability but high impact possibility that an asteroid will hit the planet, or I guess it would be a meteor when it hits the planet. I can't remember how those things work. It'd be a meteor, right? That's a possibility. It's a low possibility, but it's a possibility. And for that reason, we should probably put some resources towards mitigating that possibility, give NASA some more telescopes and do some tests to see if we can knock out an asteroid. But you wouldn't want to take 10% of the global economy and dedicate that towards looking for asteroids, right? So I think that's kind of how the IPCC thing works. The people that I think were irritating in this equation is not the scientists. It was the hack journalists that understood that evocative apocalyptic stuff sells better and didn't bother reading any of it, like Jen. By which I mean, Jen, who read it, is good. Yeah. They didn't read it like her. Not that Jen is one of these apocalyptic people. The politicians, like AOC, direct quote, "The world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change." Now, she's probably being hyperbolic, but I think that those kind of statements were a catalyzing phenomenon where if you were already worried about climate change, maybe you're more animated about it. But if you were concerned about how effective it was, you would now just dismiss stuff coming out of it. And then the other phenomenon that I think happened was this was a real problem, is a real problem. Like coral reefs being bleached because there's more acidity in the water. That's a real problem, right? It's not that this is all made up. It's a real problem. But there also became a apocalyptic subculture attached to it that I hope will now be destroyed by virtue of this. And by that, I mean, there's a group of people that are a subset of the environmental movement that have kind of turned it into a secular doomsday cult. And it's predicated on the idea that humanity is wicked and we're a plague and nature is morally pure and humanity deserves horrible things to happen to it. And the climate reckoning is justice coming to us. And I find when I talk to those people and I bring up positive things, they get really irritated with me. And I think what's happening is I'm basically saying humanity got off the hook for our wickedness and they want us to be punished. And that's because ultimately that particular subset is not interested in incremental technological adaptation. So when people like me bring up nuclear power, better batteries, carbon taxes, infrastructure adaptation, that's very irritating because what they want is a moral revolution. And climate change was a very useful means of doing that and kind of getting into it. So those are the folks that I'm irritated by. I do think that there's something to what Jen brought up earlier of even if the conversation was anchored in apocalyptic terms, it might have spurred people to take climate change more seriously. I have trouble getting rid of these thoughts. I've got some cognitive dissonance here. Like I just did a bonus episode on the political orphanage on why Texas beat California at renewable energy. Texas now has
green energy generation. Texas has more of it.
Yeah, it has about 5 times more wind power, twice as much solar power, and way more battery capacity. And there are lots of reasons for that. And there's some dumb things that California did. There's some smart things that Texas did. But at the same time, I think it would be very valid for people in California or in Germany, for that matter, to go, well, the reason that Texas is able to get all these cheap solar panels is that we put in all the heavy lifting on the investment 20 years ago, and that brought the costs down. So I think that maybe the fear did motivate things, and there's a role for it. But I also am I'm very suspicious of people trying to scare folks by manipulating them in order to get to a good outcome. I think that that's epistemologically questionable. And when that happens, like with healthcare, I don't like it. So that's about it. TLDR, if you think that fear was necessary to get people to get solar panels cheaper, then this was good. If you think it was needless panic for idiots coupled with apocalyptic fetish by anti-humans, then it was bad. I'm somewhere in the middle.
I'm glad that you brought up the fringe element of the mainstream environmentalist movement that does hold in their own words that humanity is an invasive species that is ruining the planet and needs to be culled. I do think that those people exist. I think that they are far more active in activist spaces than sometimes we want to believe, and they tend to lead conversation more than we realize downstream of it. I just want to underline the idea that I think that scaring people into action is at best when like a character in a fantasy show uses black magic to do something for good. Like it always has consequences. Like it is not pure. It is not a way to actually affect change. You are always going to have to pay for it down the road. Fear is an effective motivator, but it is a messy one. And you will always eventually have it erode something. Even if what you want to build is pure, you will always pay for it. And I think that is a case here where you know, again, we're of a generation that our entire lives we've been told we're ruining the earth, right? Like, can any of us remember a point when that wasn't a thing that we were told, either by recycling, ozone layer, CFCs, and then, you know, by the end of the 90s, you roll right into the like inconvenient truth, global warming, climate change meta.
But all those are real problems.
I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying that was a thing that was involved in our lives, right? Like that was messaging for us. Yeah. Now, whether or not they're real problems, let's put that to the side for a second. The question is, what is the best solution for them? And the solution that we chose was highlighting some of the worst possible scenarios and basing near-term policy on an unlikely possible scenario that involved a lot of different things that weren't necessarily all controllable by domestic American policy. I don't know. I don't know if that's great, nor do I, and I'll stick up for my fellow journalists here. I don't think that journalism was the main motivator on spreading some of the stuff that was damaging to the cause as a whole. I think it was the activist class. I think it was charities and NGOs that led this conversation. Now, journalism can rightfully take a bad rap for being lazy and printing press releases from these organizations. But I'll tell you this, journalism hasn't gotten less lazy. And if anything, they've gotten more irrelevant because now these causes are able to go directly to people via social media and move their message exactly pure the way that they want to. And I think that, man, we'll get to this in the second segment. I think that is happening far more than we kind of internalize.
And there's some clash of values here, right? Like I had a conversation that was with somebody I'm close to or was close to here a few months ago that kind of went on a rant of, she said, if I could end humanity in a humane and not too fast way, I would. Like if I could make our species is so awful and what we've done to the planet is so heinous. If I could eliminate our species. And I was like, I'm a humanist. I think humans are good. And so I was like, so you literally want to commit global fucking genocide. And as long as you do it to every race, it's a good thing? Awful. And that's not everybody, by the way. Again, this is a subset of people we're talking about. It's a kind of religious subset of the environmentalist movement. But I don't like those folks. And I think they've caused a lot of problems.
Well, on the flip side of that, there's also a religious movement of people who think climate change is a fucking hoax and they will just use fossil fuels forever. And, you know, those of us who believe the IPCC report are libtards and it's just as stupid. So
agreed.
Extremes,
when I was on the Hill, I remember having a conversation with some other staffer. This is years ago. And climate change came up and he went, are you worried about that? And I went, I jokingly, this is not what would happen, but I went, well, yeah, I don't want to have to buy a boat in Oklahoma. Not that it would ever get that bad where Oklahoma would be underwater, but I'm making a joke about it, right? And his response was, you don't need to worry about it. And I was like, oh, because insert plausible reason, probabilistically, it's not going to happen here. And he goes, no, you don't need to worry about it because God made a pact with Noah that he would never again flood the world. And therefore, you don't have to worry that this is going to happen. And my response was like, well, we do know that he, let 6 or 7 million Jews die in living memory. So like, it's not as if we're completely safe from problem. So like, look, the trick to this is thinking rationally and thinking in terms of trade-offs. Like, it's like the asteroid example. Like I want somebody working on asteroids. I want NASA to have some funding to look for meteors that might kill us. That's something worth putting money into. It's not worth something putting 20% of the economy in if it means that people are going to be stuck in poverty for multiple generations. With climate change, same thing. Like, yeah, it's a problem. There's stuff going on. There are immediate negative externalities like acid rain, ozone depletion, things like that from our childhood. And there are kind of more macro, difficult to pen down negative externalities like carbon and global warming that are soupier and hard to do, but they're still a problem, right? Being able to look at that and go, well, how bad do we think the problem is going to be? How much resources should we put towards this problem? And how much of those resources are we willing to divert away from raising up the rest of the planet out of poverty? That's a good conversation to have. That's the conversation we should be having.
Not that these are the best apples to compare to these oranges, but if we're just going to look at the humans need to die people and the Noah's Ark humper / climate change is a Chinese hoax people, I can work with the latter two because I can get the latter two to buy a Tesla if it looks cool enough. I can get the latter two to put solar panels on their roof if it means that their heating bill is less than it was going to be or air conditioning bill is less than it was going to be. There are economic levers that I can move for them that I don't know if I can do anything with the dude who wants all humanity to die.
No, when that's like, there's also an economic thing. Those folks also
if our only goal is to reduce carbon, right, or to move us into a more sustainable future, I can do something with the latter two. I can't really do anything with the previous.
But I also think it's a matter of scale because this example that you're giving of someone who says that all humanity should die, I've spent a lot of time in liberal circles. I've never personally heard that. I see politicians regularly talking about how climate change is a hoax. So I think the problem is bigger on the side that you could work with. I think we're kind of exaggerating the number of people who think humanity itself, like we need a genocide of all people. Like that's
I'm not really talking about. I'm not really talking about who's worse. I'm just talking about who irritates me more. That's really what I'm saying. I'm just making an emotional statement. But I do think there's something to the idea of you can get people to adopt green technology if it's in their self-interest. That's why Texas is beating California. Texas doesn't give a shit. Like California really wants renewable energy. It really wants green energy. Texas cares more about truck nuts. It does not care. But Texas likes making money.
California wants green energy if it means kickbacks. Like that is the bottleneck there.
In a nutshell, is California wanted to rely very heavily on mandates, and it also has a deeply obstructionist kind of procedural government that makes everything very expensive to build. Whereas Texas just wants to make a buck, and they figured out that there's a whole lot of sunlight and a whole lot of wind in West Texas, and they don't really care about the climate change bit, but they like money. And they're able to knock it out. And again, it's not in a vacuum. They're also getting subsidies from the federal government. That cost of that technology was brought down by California and Germany and other places. But at the same time, though, they're not opposed to it. They just don't particularly care about it. They're agnostic towards it.
Patreon.com/We're Not Wrong, where you need to go if you want to get a bonus episode of this show. And this is news you can use, friends. We're going to talk about the perfect sleep window being discovered. He eating sleepy right now. I'll bet you he didn't get the perfect fucking sleep window.
I didn't.
I bet you this guy is either overslept or underslept, and he's been doing it all the time. That's why he's a shambling mess. Is Jen getting enough sleep, or is she getting too much sleep? What about me? We're all going to find out together here on the Patreon episode of this show. Head on over there. Subscribe, won't you? We'd love to have you. Speaking of California, Tom Steyer's California gubernatorial campaign paid influencers and major social media accounts to promote him and attack rivals. This has offered a rare look in how political campaigns have used creators to shape public opinion. Disclosures show payments including $25,000 to The Shade Room. Are you following The Shade Room on Instagram, Jen?
No.
Well, someone's not down with the culture. $50,000 to Foos Gone Wild. $400,000
Also a no.
to progressive influencer Carlos Eduardo Espina. California's stricter rules on campaigns have forced more transparency than federal campaigns require, where influencer payments can remain vague or hidden. The controversy has triggered a state investigation and raised broader concerns that undisclosed political influencer marketing could flood the 2026 midterms and 2028 presidential race. A reminder that California votes in their primary next week, June 2nd. Heaton, do we need national federal guidelines on payments to social media influencers?
Here's what I find really funny about this story. There's a widespread presumption that you can use campaign donations just to buy the position of politicians. That you give a politician $40,000 to their campaign, and now they adopt whatever policy position you wanted. And I think that that's very overstated. I think generally it's the other way around, where a politician clearly has their position on guns or taxes or climate change or whatever already worked out by the time they're through the primaries. But then the Chamber of Commerce goes, oh, we really like his position on that particular thing. Not all the time, but I think that that's generally what happens. What I find funny is this is apparently exactly what's happening with influencers. Like Tom Steyer will just reach out to an influencer and go, I'll give you $30,000 to make an Instagram video about how awesome I am. And people are doing it. Just like an utterly transactional, I am selling my authentic social media persona to you to shill for your thing. I find that kind of funny. Yeah, I think the regulation's probably called for here. I am where I get worried is
Heaton wants a law, Jen.
Yeah,
Heaton wants a law.
I'm worried. The laws that bother me are where we're trying to regulate speech. We're trying to eliminate speech, or we're trying to eliminate the amount of speech. That tends to be where I get into a problem with campaign finance people. Is a lot of them want to cap stuff, and I think that you don't really. You're going to run into problems with freedom of speech to do that, either philosophically or in a regulatory manner. I don't see transparency as the same thing. I think transparency is different than compulsion. or censorship. And transparency would be like if you give a monetary contribution to an influencer, they have to have a bug at the bottom of their video that says paid sponsorship with Tom Steyer, something like that, right? Or alternately, an audio, you have to mention that. And then you could come up with another regulation that says, and if you receive gifts or vacations beyond a certain monetary threshold, you also need to identify that as well. I don't know. I think I'm fine with that. I don't think that that's a level of compulsion. Like, I would be more worried about, say, transparency for people donating to political campaigns than the other way around. Like, if, in theory, if you're just a guy and you give $100 to, I don't know, Ted Cruz or AOC or something like that, and you're afraid that that's going to get you in trouble socially, or maybe an employer won't want to hire you. I have a lot more sympathy for people that want to remain anonymous as small donation people than I do for influencers that are hawking their wares for a candidate. Like, I'm not nearly as concerned about them getting in trouble for that kind of thing. So having some degree of transparency that's regulated at the federal level doesn't bother me.
Jen?
I don't see a big difference between this and advertising. Like, you have to disclose when something is a paid ad. You see it all the time on Instagram where you have some influencer, but it says ad on the top. Mm-hmm. This feels very similar to me. And I guess it's good that this is...
So that should be platform regulated. Like, because Instagram tries to enforce FTC laws by doing that for products, because there are distinctions when it comes to commercial products.
I'm not exactly sure how this should be regulated. Because it is a little bit different. I guess what just gives me the icks is that these influencers or whatever are selling, they have this audience, their audience trusts them, and they become paid shills for candidates, saying things about candidates, not because they believe them, but because they're paid. And then they don't tell you that. It's fucking gross. I guess what my brain just keeps going to is like, why is this news now?
Yeah.
Because I can't be the only one of the three of us who has been offered enormous amounts of money to do hit pieces and turned it down, right? Has this happened to you guys?
Enormous amounts of money?
Like, I've been offered 5 figures to do episodes on specific congressmen.
No. I've had one member of Congress reach out and ask me to do something. There wasn't any money there. I turned it down because even though I liked the guy, I just didn't think that was appropriate for somebody in media to have that cozy of a relationship with. I've had
you get the emails from the campaigns trying to get ads on your show, like.
No, I get inundated with fucking 5 lizard person PR messages a day that tend to be, hey, this guy that just retired would like to be an influencer. Would you like to come have him on your program? He can talk about leadership. He used to sell soap. That's the big one. And then, yeah, there are a lot of like, hey man, insert AI jargon. Your show's great. I really liked the episode on Dean Spears.
God.
You should have you thought about having on my candidate? He's really shaking things up. He's running for school board in Prolapse, Kansas. He'd be a great guest. He could talk about why Democrats are important. Like, I get a ton of that shit, but it's always free PR. I don't know. When people send PR to me, my rule is you've got one fucking shot for me to not think you're a lizard person sociopath that just sells whatever you want because you're a feckless mercenary. If you have something that's tailored to my show, I will put you in the good category, and you can now email me. If you give me bullshit, I put a label on you and send you to archive, and I never see you again. So if I'm receiving messages from people that want to pay me for stuff, I've never seen them.
Yeah,
I feel like you are unique in this.
Really? Well, I mean, clearly I'm not. You can see from the fucking article that other people are getting similar.
Jen, the market recognizes that me and Justin are morally pure and would never been to any of this.
Yep,
and it sees you and it's like, Jen, maybe, right? That's what's happening.
No, I think the difference is that Jen is like the piece of advertising by the baggage claim at Reagan International Airport. Like, there's a million different places where you can advertise next to baggage claims, but at Reagan International Airport, you know who's getting on and off those flights. And so the ads that show up there are like, protect your credit card points. no on bill X4357 or whatever. It's like very hyper targeted. So if you're getting a 5-figure offer to do it, it's because people know that there are enough legislative directors that listen to your show that it will move a needle.
I wonder. Yeah, that's wild to me, because I'm reading this being like, yeah. The eye-popping thing is the 400 grand to some dude I've never heard of. Like, the amount of money
Carlos
if I wanted.
Eduardo Espina.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of money in selling out your
$500,000.
audience. I know.
Nice.
When I'm sitting here looking at a $15,000 bill, I'm like, shit. Like, maybe I could do a couple hit
Tom
pieces.
Steyer.
Okay, hey, Shills, reach out to me. Here's the deal.
I know.
If I already have your position, like if I've already said like, yeah, I'm in favor of this thing, I might do an episode on it. If it's not altering any of my trajectory, maybe.
I think
consider
it's
it.
disgusting behavior.
I do too.
It's disgusting behavior. And it's nothing that Xavier Becerra would do. A strong, proven Democrat with a good record who's going to lead California to a new golden age. Xavier Becerra, vote on June 2nd. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just selling out your audience. It's a fucked up way to, someone gives you their time and their trust, and I think it's a betrayal of your audience. But a lot of people are willing to do it. I mean, Andrew and I saw it. You had to leave, but the DNC, I mean, they had a whole party room for the influencer class. They tried, I wasn't technically allowed in there, which I think is kind of fun. I was authorized to be there through the House of Representatives, so I had a different badge. But the person at the door, a podcast is a podcast. They don't fucking know, so they let me in every day. Free booze, free food. Yep. I didn't pay for a single meal. And they just basically threw a party for these people, showered them with, attention and guests and the food and the alcohol. And it was, it felt very gross to me.
Can I tell you a real Tom Steyer story?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when Tom Steyer ran for president, the night that will live in political infamy forever, when Juvenile performed Back That Ass Up, at his campaign event, and Tom Steyer came out and danced to it. Right after then, Juvenile endorsed Tom Steyer for president. And I asked Juvenile, I was in that press scrum of 6 people, and I asked Juvenile, have you ever endorsed anybody for president? And he said, no, this is the first time I've ever endorsed somebody. Juvenile put it on his Instagram that he was endorsing Tom Steyer. And then Tom Steyer dropped out the next day, and guess what went away on Juvenile's Instagram? The endorsement of Tom Steyer. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that Juvenile was not only paid for his performance, but was offered a little extra on top if he would endorse, and he took the extra money on top to endorse, and with that came posting it on his Instagram. But as soon as Tom Steyer was out, which only happened to be about 12 hours after he performed, whoop, it went right off. Whoever runs Tom Steyer's campaign is pretty aggressive about that. And look, he's got the money, so he can do it. But I would say,
I put it on the influencers, not Tom Steyer.
I think this is common.
I do too.
I think it is extraordinarily common with not only campaigns, but also issues.
I think Spencer Pratt might be throwing some money around, or people throwing it around on his behalf, because a lot of people are shilling for him right now.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? Is that for everybody that you don't like, it is a paid influence campaign, and everything that you do like, it is a grassroots movement that confirms our priors.
I mean, just based on the emails that I've gotten alone, we've never even talked about it because I just figured it was that common. I'm surprised you don't get it, but the way that the campaigns, they want to advertise on my show, which is so fucking stupid because I don't take ads. You can tell they don't do their market research, but just the amount of money that you can make by being a shill, I give no one the benefit of the doubt anymore, which is a really shitty place to be. But if you take ads, I don't see why you wouldn't take political money either. I think it's the same thing. You're selling your time to a company, or you're selling your time and your clout to a politician. I see it as the same thing. So if anyone takes advertisements on their show, I think they're morally already there, and I just assume their opinions could be tainted.
That they're selling out their audience.
I
push
assume
back
they
a little
could
bit?
be. I don't automatically assume they
Yeah.
are, but I put them in the category of possibly would. Because if you're going to sell your audience to a company, why wouldn't you sell them to Tom Steyer?
Like somebody who would never sell you out, Xavier Becerra, the next governor of California. Vote June 2nd.
Yeah. You better cut Andrew and I in or whatever he gives you.
Yeah, I'll push back on this a little bit. So, Jen, I don't do advertisements on the political orphanage. The reason I don't do advertisements on the political orphanage is not for ethical reasons. And by the way, I think I'm very ethical in how I approach the program. Like I'm extremely studious in what I do. I try not to be a hack. I try to research positions. If I'm wrong about something, I want to know about it. Like I consider myself very ethical in my line of work. The reason that I don't do advertisements on the political orphanage is not for any high-minded ethical concern. It's just the bulk of my income comes from subscriptions. I am afraid that if I have advertising on the show, people will go, oh, well, he's already got advertising. He doesn't need subscription support. So I do that. But I do a sci-fi podcast called Alienating the Audience, and it has advertisements. I don't read them. They're just slots that are dropped in there. I don't know what's on them. It's just, that's a thing. It's like being on TV where they drop in the slots and you may not know what's going on. I don't think that makes the sci-fi podcast somehow morally suspect. And I think that even if you have advertisements, there's a way of doing that ethically and a way of not doing it ethically. For the many things that I disagree with Glenn Beck on, I was with him behind scenes when there was no mic on, and he was talking about the sponsors that he had. And he would talk to me about how there were sponsors that had wanted to be on his program for years, and he wouldn't bring them on because he wouldn't do it until he'd actually looked into it, tested it, and was confident that he was giving something high quality to his audience. Possible he was lying to me, but I don't think so. And the position that he had was that he believed he had a ethical responsibility to make sure that any show sponsors were things that he stood by that he could give to his listeners. So I think that those are fine. I don't think if you're doing those sorts of things that you're morally suspect. It's a different revenue stream. There's going to be some constraints on what you can do, but it doesn't have to all be donations or subscription models.
No, I understand that. But as the audience member, how do you tell the difference? How do you know? How do you know that Glenn Beck is doing that due diligence? How do you know that when he tells you that he likes this politician?
How do you know they're doing their due diligence on research or their political analyses? Like you have to make a judgment call.
It's all based on trust.
Yes, exactly. It's based on trust. So like if the person doesn't have advertisements, but they're a hack in order to drive up subscriptions, you run into the same problem. The problem here is not the advertising. It's whether or not the person's feckless.
I just don't see a difference. I really don't. If you're willing to tell your audience something because a company paid you to say it, why wouldn't you tell your audience about a candidate because a candidate paid you to say it? I think it's the same thing. You can make that choice and go ahead and do that. But when I, as an audience member, listen to someone who has an ad who then tells me that they like or don't like a candidate, I don't 100% trust them. And just is what it is. I mean, and I also think it matters what the show is. So you just said that you don't take ads on the political orphanage, but you do take them on a sci-fi podcast. I don't really mind the sci-fi podcast because it's not that serious of a topic. But when we're talking about the state of the world and I'm looking for people to inform me and educate me on something, which I think voting is important. So for people that I trust to educate me, someone who's feeding me a bunch of ads about some company, it brings down my trust a little bit. You know what? It just does.
I do remember back in 2020, 2021, my suit guy, my tailor that comes in from Hong Kong was in town, and I really like his suits. And so I did a couple advertisements for him on my show. And it was a thing where people had to buy suits for me to get any money. I don't think I got anything out of it, but I did it. The political orphanage is now permanently tainted. And if you're listening at home, you need to be very careful listening to me. I took some of I tried to get that advertising deal with
Big
my tailor.
Stitch. So, He's in the pocket of Big Stitch.
I am one of these morally impure people.
Andrew, I'm not saying, God, I didn't think you would take this so personally. I'm not saying that you are unethical or it's automatically unethical to take ads. I'm not saying that. But I think you need to understand as an audience member and as someone who has had to make these decisions myself, someone who's left a lot of money on the table, as an audience member, you don't know how those decisions are going to be received. And I don't think it's always going to be that people just assume that you have the best of intentions and you've done your research on this. And I think I'm just telling you who I feel as an audience member. Sure. I trust people who take ads a little bit less, and I do not give them the benefit of the doubt that they're not taking money from politicians because I've been offered the money. And I've left it on the table. Justin just gave us a whole list of people who are not leaving the money on the table. And they're not telling their audience that they took the money. Well, and so how do you trust everyone if you can't trust anyone?
I'm 100% with you on influencers adopting political positions out of pure contractual obligation. Like I'm 100% with you on that. And again, I think that there should be transparency. I like the whole paid advertisement thing. I'm just saying I think it's.
Well, that is the difference, right? When you air an ad, it's so clearly an ad. You know that you're not telling me about this tailor because he's the best. Like it's clearly an ad. A lot of times, especially if you're doing dynamic ad insertion, those are the kinds of ads where the company that you host with or whatever is just dropping in a random ad.
Yeah, that's what I do in my sci-fi podcast.
Yeah, it's crystal fucking clear that that's an ad.
Wait, are we allowed to do that now on this show? You told us we couldn't.
I think it ruins the show. It's more like, no, we're not doing it. I won't have it. No, right, I think it's just shitty for the show.
Sorry, Bella. No Christmas this year.
Okay.
Jen wants to be morally pure.
AI shell, but you're fine, Bella, darling. I think that is the heart of the issue that we're talking about here. You know when something's an ad. You don't know when an influencer is being paid $500,000 to tell you that this guy is great and he doesn't actually believe it.
We're of one mind on that. And I'm glad that these influencers are at least getting some public scrutiny, because you're absolutely right. People should be very suspect of these people. If they're just charismatic and they're just promoting whatever gives them money, then the authenticity is in fact duplicity. So I'm 100% on that. I don't like any of these people.
Yeah.
Like I think it's one thing if you're like, I am a rip-roaring progressive and the Democratic Party has offered to fly me out to Chicago, and okay, there's some if you're just hanging out and you get an email from Tom Steyer and you're like, never heard of this guy, but I'll take $400,000. These are very transactional, and they should call your trust into question. Yes.
For the record, I shill for OpenAI for free. I produce a podcast for them for money. I would only take money to shill for things and causes and people that I find morally repugnant and abhorrent. Okay. Which reminds me, Xavier Becerra has earned your trust by way of a record of service, the only true blue Democrat. Vote no on the billionaire and yes for Xavier Becerra this June 2nd. We're not wrong pod at gmail.com, where you need to go if you want to get 2 bonus episodes or 1 bonus episode of this show. That's my other show where I give 2 bonus episodes. Merch demand. This is the 2nd episode in a row where we've gotten merch demand.
I know. One of us needs to create the store. And
I'm planning to do this. I'm
skeleton of slurs. And now swamp beaver. I don't know what the swamp beaver.
It's fucking Bucky. It's Bucky. We have the swamp beaver.
We would need to have maybe moss hanging off his head or something like that. Something legally distinct, please, if we can, if we're taking money for it. So I don't know. Maybe if you guys keep asking for merch, maybe we'll have to do it. Okay, we got 1 billion emails on AI. Let's get into them. Ointment Man writes, I can't tell you how many times AI has correctly identified what my kids' rashes were. I think it only missed once and is far less than the human doctors who have misdiagnosed my kids. I will say that one of the first things that I came into contact with ChatGPT on was when Bella was born. Having a resource at any time of night that would instantly give you a general idea on whether or not this sound your child is making is normal, which, spoiler alert for anybody who's had a kid, 99.999% of the weird noises that newborns make are normal. It's always the same thing over and over and over again. And not only did we use ChatGPT, we also called the night nurse line that we had with our pediatrician. They all said the same thing, but it was nice having a frontline thing before you escalated it somewhere else. AI divide. Where you mentioned why Europeans and Asian countries are more into AI than the Anglosphere, my hypothesis is social safety net. Europeans may be more trusting that if AI makes their job go tits up, their government will look out for them. Asian countries don't have as much safety net and have more of a Wild West mindset. Broad generalization, but I'm thinking countries like India, Philippines, and Vietnam in this thought experiment.
I think this is interesting but contradictory. So the idea that Europe would be less worried about AI because they have stronger labor protections and, healthcare is less tethered to job, that makes sense. Like, I follow you there. But wouldn't then the countries that don't have strong social safety nets be even more worried than us? Like I don't know how social safety nets work in all of the countries that you mentioned, but I don't think that they're as strong in some of those countries as they are in us. So that tells me that that's probably not the main factor. It might be a factor, but it's probably something else.
I just don't like them, right? While the booming technological markets undoubtedly have improved my life and the lives of millions, nay billions of people, I find myself unsettled by the various opinions of tech leaders. The comments about the level of surveillance and tracking, their opinions of humanity, I'm looking at you, Peter Thiel, or their views on how much information we should be accessing and who holds the keys to this information. Sam Altman's proposal made me cringe in revulsion. Don't leave me with confidence in the people at the very top. While it is unfair to assume the beliefs of these tech giants from 5-second interview clips, it doesn't do much to inspire the confidence of the masses, washed or unwashed though they might be.
I agree.
I want to make a spreadsheet of people in tech and their predictions, because we're getting to the point now where we can start calling people out on bullshit. Like when ChatGPT dropped 2023, 2023, there wasn't enough time yet, but like I might even do this with the orphanage. Like, I might put this up on Patreon and Substack of like a common Google Doc spreadsheet or something, because we're getting to the point now where people that are high have said things like, or high up have said things like, there will be no lawyers within 2 years or something like that. And I'd like to be able to figure out who we can just dismiss, as I think that there's going to be a fair amount of. There's
one specific CEO of Anthropic that says it weekly. And we'll get to, there's an email that deals with it, so we can wait until then to go there. Amen writes, I live in the west side of LA and I deal with this routinely. Personally, I'm a centrist, but most of my friends are hardcore leftists. AI hate is just part of left-wing dogma. It is a kind of religion for these people in the sense that if you believe A, you must also believe B, C, D, E, and F through Z. Otherwise, you're a heretic. One of these must-believes is that AI is evil. You've heard it before. AI is the epitome of evil, rapacious capitalism to these folks. It steals art and puts people out of jobs and pollutes the earth, and it's going to kill us all and turn us into paper clips. If you call them Luddites, they will and they happen to know what that means, they will say, yes, I am absolutely on this issue. They don't even shy away from the label. I don't think that they put a lot of thought into it. It's just, quote unquote, our creed. To be a good person, you must hate AI. It's just a fact that it's evil. Like, it's a fact that single-payer healthcare will save us all. And it's a fact that Jesus was born of a virgin. You don't question it, you just believe it.
I mean, the analysis of whole groups of people that you are not a part of, I think is.
I mean, he's describing his friend circle.
No, I get that. But like, you don't agree with them. So this is just, I don't like it when people do this. Like, I don't know. I just don't like it when people do this. You don't agree with them. You probably don't fully understand what they think. You put them all into this giant basket. They're just religious. They don't actually think this through. They haven't thought about it. Like, I don't know. I find it very dismissive of apparently everyone you're friends with.
Do you think that's a good standard that we should have for everybody? That we should give grace and not characterize them?
I just think because one person said a thing that you think is kind of wild, to then be like, there's a whole group and they all think alike and it's all a religious dogma, and like dismiss everything that they say because one person who happens to share political beliefs with a lot of other people, you put the whole group into the same crazy category. I don't know. If all of your friend group believes a thing, maybe they have thought about it and they've thought about it together, and maybe you're not going that deep on it because they don't want to talk to you about it, because this is how you portray them as just crazy religious people who don't think a lot. Like
truck drivers and climate change skeptics.
I'm watching this happen in Congress. I'm not talking about like a whole, I mean, I guess I kind of am, but I'm watching it. Like, I'm listening to these arguments all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm not dismissing them as like, I guess I am. I guess I am.
Checkmate.
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I think it's, even if I do it, it's fucking lazy.
GPTs get degrees, writes. I was a video editor in LA for 25 years, but now because the industry has tanked, I'm going back to school in medicine. It is only because of ChatGPT that I've gotten straight A's in anatomy, statistics, and chemistry. I rely on it so heavily, I can't imagine how I would have done without it. I would have needed at least 100 hours of tutoring, but even then, they wouldn't have been there at 3 a.m. when I had a question or felt like doing practice tests. For education, it's an absolute game changer. It is the best tutor, unsleeping, endlessly patient, endlessly knowledgeable, able to render imagery for self-education in a STEM subject. It is amazing and invaluable. I have to admit that most of my professors have not been great teachers. They are normal, flawed human beings. You know who has been a great teacher? ChatGPT and Claude. We still need the professors, of course, but they don't do most of the teaching anymore. Not for me, at least. They didn't.
I would love to know this person's name so that I could never, ever hire them as my doctor. This is
see,
terrifying.
Conversely, I think this person sounds really smart. Dude, if I'm in California, or lady, if I'm in California, you sound terrific. I'm very impressed that you've transitioned from working in video to medicine. And if it's 25 years, that means that you're probably not 19. So like, kudos. I think you probably got an incredible brain on you. I think it was one of the really cool things about a ChatGPT and other LLMs. I don't think that they are 100% accurate in the sense that you can use whatever they give you as gospel. I do think that they're very good at explaining concepts. Things you need to check on things for accuracy to make sure that you haven't been fed something different. But when I'm trying to get on top of a new concept that I'm unfamiliar with, I find that it tends to be very, very useful. Where it fails is if I need a statistic or I need specific numbers. That's something that I very much want to make sure that there's citations that I can get there. But like I think for like high school students, for middle school students, understanding how grammar works and having something that you can talk to at 11 p.m. or alternately like understanding American history and being able to have a running conversation. There's some really, really good applications from this.
But it depends on your subject matter. If you do something wrong on an English text, like who cares? We're talking about medicine here. And I use Dr. ChatGPT. It helped me immensely when I was trying to play in that volleyball tournament. My calf was all strained. Like it helped me get back on the court. So I'm not saying there's no use for it. But at the same time, it will pull information from random bloggers. Like you don't always know where it's getting its information from and it wants to please you. And so if you're not really understanding a concept and you're pushing back on it, is it going to give you the accurate information or is it going to feed you what you want to hear? I don't think that this is a good way to be learning medicine. Now, if you're like when I use Dr. ChatGPT, I will take the information I got from it and then check with my doctor, who is someone who's actually studied in the books from and learned from humans. But this, like being like, I trust ChatGPT more than my teachers, giant red flag. And I really hope this
he says he's gotten A's on his tests. He's gotten straight A's on the tests that have been given to him by the professors. By way of studying with these systems.
Great. But I still don't like this. I'm sorry. I just don't. I feel like I use ChatGPT way too often and have it be wrong about things that are like, I think I told you guys this last week. I was asking for specifics about a death of a congressman and it told me 3 times the guy did not die.
It's very bad with breaking news.
But it's bad with a lot of stuff. And that's the problem. Like we all know that it can be inaccurate. And so if this is how you're learning medicine, this is different from helping with writing an email or your English paper. I think
what he's saying is that he's using it as a tutor and test. He can say, hey, drill me on these concepts, and he can answer it, and it will then give him, what he got wrong.
Quote, I have to admit, most of my professors have not been great teachers.
Yeah. I mean, like, he's not the first person on earth to say that college professors are controversial in their providence of knowledge and selection of what to teach. And that's before you get into the trying to fuck the hot ones.
I just don't want my doctor to be someone who thinks their best teacher is ChatGPT. I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with it.
Okay, that's fine. AI won't cost jobs, right? I'm in government work at a state level, and my state put out a comprehensive AI training that was mandatory for all workers to take part of in our annual training hours. I will say that the training didn't teach me anything because I've utilized these platforms already, but I would have to argue that for those talking about it replacing jobs, it just doesn't seem like it would, not yet at least. As useful and helpful as these tools can be to augment work and maybe boost efficiency, it still requires due diligence because, well, it's stupid. Artificial stupid, sure, but stupid nonetheless.
There you go. Stupid teacher.
So in one of my several other jobs that I have, because I have so much free time We do enterprise training for LLM tools in the corporate world. So if you're interested in it, Interdimensional, look us up. And what I have found is that I don't think that we're going to see the job displacement that people are talking about.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't. These tools are exceptional. They can boost productivity, but they are fundamentally suited for augmenting human activity, even if it is replacing an element of your job. There are other things that you've just kind of turned off in your brain that, well, I'm not going to do this because it's not in my purview because I'm too busy doing these other things. That if you eliminate these things, it doesn't mean that that is your job. Your job will shift. It'll change. You're going to be moving into different realms of what you already do, but your natural knowledge in steering these machines to go where you want them to go is invaluable. That will always be more valuable than a machine steering another machine, at least right now. And I don't know whether or not we get to a point where it totally tips over, but I would much rather a doctor that has access to all of the world's unblinking, unfailing knowledge than a doctor without it right now. That's what I want. I want humans that are wielding this tech and not
augmenting 100%.
Yeah.
Trusting it over your teacher, red flag. I think there's a difference between the two.
We love the augmentation. Yeah. Without going into great detail on this, I apparently have an autoimmune disease. It is super fun. And talked to my doctor recently just to try to get a referral to talk to somebody that knows about it. And my doctor did not know what she was talking about. Like, she had read a Wikipedia article on the subject and was giving me demonstrably incorrect information. I would have preferred that she have ChatGPT, because ChatGPT was giving me better info than her. Now, hopefully the expert that actually knows the topic will be better than ChatGPT. I don't think ChatGPT is necessarily getting everything right either, but I think the augmenting perspective is a very valid one.
AI will cost jobs, right? The argument that new jobs will eventually emerge ignores the human cost of the intervening years. When companies prematurely deploy AI, leading to mass layoffs and economic instability, they create a scenario where those displaced workers are rarely the ones rehired if the company later realizes it's a mistake. The job market does not function as a simple pause and restart button for employees. A sentence I really wish that we had internalized before the lockdowns. My question for you is this: what is the acceptable human cost of this transition? If you believe this technology leads to a net positive, how do you reconcile that with the inevitable poverty and suffering caused by poorly implemented displacement?
I think this is
go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I think this is a great question, but I think that you answered the question in the question. So there's two logical trains of thought that we can take on AI and job displacement. Category one is AI is interesting and novel, but not earth-shattering. It's mostly hype. It is not actually going to replace jobs because it's just a fun new technology, but it's not going to alter everything. If that's the case, then you don't need to worry about any of this. Like we will very shortly learn that it sucks at law, and no lawyers will go away. And paralegals won't even go away because it sucks at law. We're not going to, drivers won't go away, right? That's category one. Category two is this is a massive disruptor, and it is actually going to cause large amounts of unemployment. However, if that is true, if it's something that is categorically different, that is a game changer for the economy as a whole, implicit in that is that it also has incredible other abilities, like being able to cure rare diseases or come up with vaccines for cancer. So if we're there, I think the relevant question is, how many curable diseases are you willing to prolong in order to keep unemployment low? That would be the trade-off that we're looking at. Both of those are real things. People that get automated at 52, that have a difficult time finding a new company that can hire them and want to put the training in, that's a real thing. That's something to consider, right? So are the opportunity costs of being able to eliminate suffering for people that have diseases and other issues. Because it's hard to adjudicate those things, I'm very, very, very hesitant to try to put a thumb on the scale to slow it down, just to make it slower.
I would just say we don't know what job displacement is going to look like. And any job displacement that's happened up till now, I am willing to say are excuses that CEOs are making because of other business reasons to justify layoffs.
Like they want to do layoffs anyway. And
yes.
Yeah.
And they are saying there are these amazing AI synergies that are happening. I literally am at an intersection where I am seeing the frontier of this stuff as close to what is coming out of the kitchen of some of these labs as anybody without knowing what exactly it is. I'm hearing whispers. I am hearing rumors about things that are happening. And then I'm talking to businesses that are trying to apply these. The massive, everybody, entire departments get fired synergies that would predicate this kind of job loss is not here. And if anything, it is already behind in the race for people that are getting better at their jobs because they are applying with this technology. So now the bar for the tech to be eliminating jobs is even higher than it was before, because it's not just somebody that doesn't have access to it. It's we need to eliminate a job of somebody who has access to it. I think that bar is going to keep getting higher. And so even as the systems get better, it will always be one or two steps behind what humans can do in a world where humans are buying things from other humans, which is what we are doing. So I do think it's an unsettled question as to what job loss will be. There will be some job loss in the way that steno pools went away, in the way that lamplighters went away. Like there is going to be a difference between 20 years from now and today by way of technology. But that is the norm. That's what's happened in Western society for the last 120 years. Like we are blessed to live in an age of miracles where we continue to have new ones dawn for us. I don't think that it is a mass job displacement. So when we start rushing to the solution for a problem we don't really know exists, that's where I tend to get a little, yeah,
that's fair.
I don't know. Hey, here's a full AI regulation pitch. They write, what if the military completely controlled AI development, akin to how they developed the internet? It would take control of AI out of unelected officials. So AI development, because it's a government program now, but not too slowly. So we stay competitive with China and anyone else who are afraid of overtaking us with said tech, and keep AI itself more secure from hackers. Would having safer, confined development of AI through the military be worth it? Or would more murder robots sour that hypothetical? Jen, are we enlisting Sam Altman and Dario Amodi?
No, this means that we would trust Pete Hegseth with all the AI.
Mm-hmm.
How about a fat fuck no on this idea? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I think you get to pick your poisons here. Who do you trust more? Politicians, the military, or CEOs? I think in that category of three, I'm going to go with the CEOs being the leaders here. I'd rather have them in the Pentagon.
Ugh, what a toxic soup of choices.
Yeah, but you got to pick, right? Who are you going to go with? You want politicians, unelected bureaucrats,
who would
the
you
military,
like if you
CEOs?
Jen, if you had your druthers, who would you put as the czar, the unquestioned authority on an issue like this? And you don't have to give me a person, because then we get into like picking out their character flaws, but just an archetype. If not a CEO, if not a politician, if not a career military man, then who?
I actually like that it's fragmented between different companies. What I want is oversight of it. I want a regulatory agency making sure that they're not creating murder robots and selling them at Target.
So a bureaucrat that stays within the government that is not affected by politics?
Someone that we in some way elect.
So they can be moved.
I would like an independent type of situation so that it's not like, oh, we have an administration that's, tech friendly like this one,
like
and
the
they just
Federal
put
Reserve.
foxes in charge.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
Yeah, something more like that. But we need some kind of regulatory
State
agency,
Department.
and that's what I think we're missing. It's not necessarily that I don't like these companies. I think they're all profit driven like everything else, but I think a lot of other industries, they are regulated in a way that AI isn't.
I think
two totally uncontroversial organisms, right, Heaton?
The Fed, wouldn't one of them nonprofit? Justin, which one of them is nonprofit?
Well, neither now. So Anthropic was never started as a nonprofit. OpenAI was initially started as a nonprofit. There still is an extraordinarily well-funded nonprofit, but there has spun off a for-profit entity that is going to IPO later this year, OpenAI, which that was at the heart of that Elon Sam Altman trial, was whether or not Sam Altman and OpenAI stole a charity, quote unquote.
Yeah, it's childish fucks.
Which, like, I'll tell you, the discovery of that trial alone is like a Smithsonian museum for the beginning of this technology. It was fascinating to get discovery of like what these people were texting each other and emailing each other and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, the idea that, I mean, Elon's concept there was that, well, if you can steal a charity, then all the charities will just be stolen and turned into for-profit companies. And it's like, I don't think anyone would look at what happened with OpenAI, where they had a nonprofit board that tried to coup their CEO until the entire company threatened to quit, would say like, oh, that's a great way to run a company. I should do that instead of just starting it as a for-profit entity where I control all the shares. But that's just me. Is this even legal? Right. Every time you guys talk about AI, Justin talks about how AI is bringing the best legal advice to people who would never get it and brings amazing healthcare access to those who previously lacked it. But you guys never look at the details of these claims. Lawyers are being fired, fined, and sanctioned over AI use. The Miami-Dade and Broward, Florida bar, shout out Broward 954, basically said not to trust anything that they generate. AI demographic bias is worse than doctor bias in cancer diagnosis. AI reliance is making our doctors worse. ChatGPT is actually pretty good at medical diagnosis, but when it's wrong, it's very wrong, and no one knows who's responsible. Trustworthiness is all over the place, and people still have problems with theft of IP for training data. So telling a graduating UCF class facing the grim job market that this is all the next industrial revolution is a stupid move.
Can I just say really quick, I appreciate all the links.
There's a lot of links.
I love it when people do that.
In that case, it'll just take care of itself, won't it? Like if the whole thing is a hype and a bubble and it's all just garbage, then like, don't worry about it. Like the bad scenario there then is that we're going to have a recession when AI data centers quit propping up the economy. Like that's the thing to worry about in that case. If it is in fact bullshit, then the economy is going to tank in the next 2 years. But you don't need to worry about the automation then.
Yeah. So with the understanding that it is a very, very, very bad idea for lawyers and doctors who are trained and go to many, many years of schooling so they can have a rigorous by the letter diagnosis or legal briefs that are going to create precedent in the legal scenario to go forward. These are things that are, as Heaton knows, as the son of a judge, like these motions that are filed become pieces of living history that create the rules of order for our society. Like, it's very bad to just hit copy paste from a ChatGPT output and put it into a thing to do your work. That is an extraordinarily bad idea. And I commend the Broward Bar Association, which only because they are from Broward County, the greatest county in America, I imagine to be the pinnacle of all law. That being said, I think that these are cherry-picking examples of bad behavior in using this technology as opposed to a judgment on the technology itself. When I talk about the rising tide of AI specifically for people like the bottom billion, people who only have access to the internet via cell phones on limited plans and therefore need a limited internet bandwidth solution for knowledge, oftentimes in countries that shut off certain websites or have protection rackets for licensed occupations, oftentimes doctors and lawyers, having a service that can give you baseline medical advice, baseline legal advice is invaluable. And it's something that didn't exist before. And I do think that that is a rising tide that raises all boats. That is not to say that every lawyer in America should just be, again, hitting copy paste on things that it is getting from ChatGPT. It should use it as a first draft so it can continue to make things better, to make sure that you are using this to augment what you would do. But I don't think that it invalidates the idea that as a core baseline for people that would not have this knowledge before, it is oftentimes life-saving and also empowering.
I'll agree with that. And I will say that you are one of the more responsible people that talks like this, but will also discuss the limitations of it. Mm-hmm. I do think that we have a plague of people that are just saying the possibilities of it. And I think that's how you do get people trusting it more than they should. And I feel like there needs to be more education coming from the evangelists about the inaccuracies and the problems of it so that people don't think they can just copy and paste and think that it can replace their doctors. I think there's more trust in it for the people that use it and love it than sometimes is warranted.
Yeah. Like there's, I think somebody wrote into our show a few months ago about how either they are a teacher or their spouse is a teacher. This is a problem going on right now, right? Where a teacher assigns you an essay, you have ChatGPT do it, then you just, tweak it a little bit so it looks like you wrote it. So what the teacher was doing was ask ChatGPT for an answer to this particular question. Your job is to now fact check it. Your job is to go through and explain why this is correct or incorrect and have links for it. I think that's great in that, one, it forces you to learn regardless. You can't just outsource that. But also, it forces you to see, this thing is not right all the time. Like, yeah. As far as the law stuff goes, I had a friend from college that went to law school but did not pass the bar exam. And I feel like legal advice from ChatGPT is sort of like talking to somebody that went to some law school but that did not pass the bar exam, where it's like, yeah, they might well have a good suggestion. If it's a suggestion that's going to potentially get me in jail, I'm definitely going to talk to a real lawyer. But it might be, or like with accounting stuff, like it might be that there's a good perspective on this. I don't know. If I ever buy a house, I'll probably talk to ChatGPT and go, hey, I have this much money. How big of a mortgage could I get? But I'm going to go talk to a mortgage person at some point. But it might be a good starting place.
Well, I mean, with my Honda battle, I'm asking ChatGPT to help me collect the documents that I need in case I have to sue these people for their damage to my car. And it's been really useful in that. Obviously this is a money issue. I just got a text like we're getting charged another $400 and they're taking away the car that we are driving. Like it just becomes more and more of a nightmare by the minute. But being able to know that I have this tool that is using the experience of other people on the internet, like how they won these battles in the past, it's really giving us a good guideline for these are the documents we need from this party. These are the documents we need from this party. It's helping us understand the tech. Like there's a usefulness to it. But at the same time, if this weren't a small claims court type of situation, I would still be hiring a lawyer because like this can help me collect the documents, but I still want the lawyer who understands the law to be making the arguments. I don't think it's a replacement. Again, an augmentation.
Yeah. Quote, the only people benefiting from AI are shareholders, end quote, writes, I'd like to point out that I have actually benefited a lot from AI. It's helped me fix appliances, save tons of money, diagnose problems with my car, and solved a massive health problem for me that doctors kept telling me it was just part of aging. It has done so many things for me that I can't list here.
Great. Yeah. No, I think that's a lot like, man, the stuff around the house, it's great for that. Where I'm like, hey, there's this problem, or like camper repair, because I'm me being a 67-year-old man that just retired and I'm looking to see the country with my wife. I have this camper that I tow behind my vehicle, and like it has problems with it, and it's great for that. Like I found a hairline fracture in the A-frame of it, which I'm like, oh shit, it's done. And then like came up with solutions, and I ended up calling a welder who came out and plated it so that it's like very, very useful for all that stuff.
It helped me not go full Office Space on my printer last week.
Oh, Jen, literally the craziest I've ever been, like peak Heaton insanity, occurred when I was in New York, and my then girlfriend had purchased like an R2D2 sized printer for her company and wanted me to set it up. And I got so fucking furious at this recalcitrant printer that I eventually unplugged it and then plugged in other appliances like the toaster and the hairdryer to taunt it by only giving them electricity. That's how angry I was.
Yeah, there's something about that technology. We can figure out we have this magic of AI, and yet printers remain this
When
technology.
I
that
run for
just-
president on the Whig Party here in a couple of years, I will fix the printer. That will be my thing. I will. That's it. That's nothing
you have
else.
my vote.
I'm not going to fix the debt. Sorry, we're fucked. But I am going to fix the printers. We're going to form a national commission. We're going to work this out.
That's enough for me.
You know, by the way, Jen saw my morning briefing was here. This prints for me every morning.
Really?
Just
Off my
automatic. You
printer.
wake up and it just does it.
6:30.
What's your morning briefing
every
look
day?
like? What all do you have in there?
Jen, you go ahead and describe it.
God, this guy. So it starts with an overview of his day. So like it talks about when we're recording and then his traveling later. Then he has his own calendar. It gives him the weather. It's going to be stormy and humid. He has the top emails, text messages, the top news. So this is probably how he found out that fucking Paxton beat Cornyn. We haven't even talked about that.
Well, I knew that last night, but
Yeah,
that's fine.
has looking ahead. But my favorite part, Andrew, up here in the corner, there's a little seal. It looks almost like a congressional pin, and like there's no way you can zoom in close enough. But in the middle of it is Justin's face. He made a congressional seal of himself, and he looks at it every morning.
But it prints. It prints for me.
It sure does.
Codex, everybody. Use Codex. Codex is really, really, really fucking good.
So you like using Codex more than ChatGPT for work stuff?
Oh, yeah. No, Codex
Okay.
is like,
What's Codex? I've never even heard of this.
see, this is the problem. You're going to bait me into talking about how cool my AI life is, and then I'm just going to get ritually mocked for being a shill.
Yeah, but this is what you like. Remember when I refused to use it? You had to push me into using it. Now, like this is
Yeah,
what our
no, but
relationship
I didn't
is.
like that process. It was me telling you to use it for like months, and you're like, I don't get it. I don't get it. This is stupid. It didn't do it right.
But I did it.
And then you didn't even give me the satisfaction. You just started saying like, anyway, yeah, I used it for this. And it's like you didn't say like, hey, I finally did it.
Is this not giving you satisfaction?
No, but all right.
Isn't better late than never a thing?
That's true. That's true. Beijing does not consent, right? Right. A conspiracy theory I unironically believe without evidence is that the Chinese state is secretly funding and promoting huge portions of America's anti-AI sentiment. To which I only say, how do you say, hold up the dirty jar of water in Mandarin?
Why would they do that?
Ni
Do you
hao.
want to go down this road?
There's a lot
You know
more.
what? I've seen no evidence, but it wouldn't surprise me. If I were China, I would love to hobble America in that.
Except for one thing. I think that our current president, when it comes to Taiwan, is kind of willing to be like, fuck it, don't care. If China were to take Taiwan in the next year or two, that's where most of our chips come from. We could be McFucked. So I feel like if China's going to, they want Taiwan anyway, and it could screw over our AI situation, like that's probably the more likely play than making us hate, like manipulating our emotions through social media. Like, can we stop with that? It's not the Chinese. We can fight with
We
each
just
other.
did a whole
fine.
thing about Tom Steyer. Like, it does happen.
Yeah, but like I really hate the idea that everyone who's against AI is because like we're manipulated and we're dumb and like, no, there are legit concerns here. I think if you're going to be worried about the Chinese, be worried about them taking Taiwan. That's your biggest threat to AI when it comes to the Chinese.
Yeah.
Or,
Good point.
I think this would be smarter. Scott Galloway talked about this and I can't get it out of my head.
He's a fucking moron.
Yeah, but if the Chinese, I like his theory. If the Chinese,
Fucking Jen got fucking 500-foot overrun.
what if the Chinese took their models that they're developing and just gave them out for free?
They do.
Yeah, so that could also kill our, like, I just
No,
think
it can't, because they're fucking 4 months behind us because they just use our models. They distill our models and make shittier versions. If you go to DeepSeek, which is their best model is one called DeepSeek, and you ask DeepSeek, who are you? It says, I am Claude Code. I was developed by
real?
Anthropic. Yes.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Well, then I go back to my original statement, which was actually mine, which is if you're worried about AI in China, make sure they don't take Taiwan.
Are you following this Hassan Piker thing?
No.
So
I
Hassan
saw a
Piker,
bit about that. Has he been charged as a foreign agent?
he's been subpoenaed, and the himbo that he is,
Subpoenaed by us, our
by
government?
by America for his trip to Cuba. The guy laid out this whole thing about how if it were to come out of Glenn Beck's mouth, it would have been accompanied by him drawing on his chalkboard how foreign influence works. But Hassan just spelled it out like it was a person that needed to be protected. But there's this guy, David Sangam, who's a Chinese billionaire who funds like far left-wing activism and connected him with the Cuban government. And so it's like Hassan is on his stream saying this is all about trying to fight David Sangam because he funds all these things. That's never been proven. But Hassan is saying it like he needs to be protected. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
But I'm just, that is the kind of stuff that Glenn Beck used to talk about on like Fox News. And it would be like, look at the psychopath drawing his crazy stuff. And Hassan's just like, anyway, there's a Chinese billionaire that funds every left-wing organization that's doing the right thing.
Wow.
Call is coming from inside the house, writes, why is there a rising tide of anti-AI sentiment? Could it be that boosters and doomers are the same people? Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, released his thoughts about AI earlier this year, that AI poses civilization-ending risks, such as an AI tool that could obfuscate nuclear weapons being launched, or possibly bypassing security measures and launching nuclear weapons that would cause the cascading effect with Russia, US, China, France, UK, Israel, and every country that has them likely to counterstrike with their arsenal, ending humanity in a couple of hours. But hey, stock prices will go up due to the cut in headcount that employers with the highest per capita payroll, like white collar jobs. Okay.
How would it do the nuke thing? Because we have a lot of redundancies there that involve a physical human pulling a thing. Like, what's the idea? That it would like crack the encryption on the code and then pretend to be the president?
If you want to read about this line of thought, you can go to Stuart Russell. He wrote there's a book called If Somebody Builds It, Everyone Dies. There's a long
Oh, yeah. I tried to get him on. He wouldn't come on the program.
Stuart Russell?
It's him and one other guy, right? They wrote, if anybody builds it, everybody dies. I reached out to both. Neither would come on.
Like, I am not in the doomer camp.
Really?
Shocker. And this is where I will say that you should discount my opinion when it comes to the Anthropic OpenAI divide, because I am friends with a lot more OpenAI people than I am with Anthropic people. This is within the AI community, right? But there is a tremendous rivalry between these two companies, and they don't think nice things about each other. I would say Anthropic people think more negative things about OpenAI because Anthropic was started by a safety guy, Dario Amodei, and they believe, I would try to put this steelman that in their own words, that safety is job one, and they need to make sure that they are creating a safe environment. Now, if I were to be unkind, I would say that they are fucking two-faced and constantly degrade their own position. Like, for example, they used to say that you don't want to create a race condition in the AI world, meaning that you don't want to overhype things that aren't out yet, because then you are just incentivizing all these labs to develop the tech faster and further, and that at any moment a model might come through from the training and be the dangerous model that hurts the world, right? They apparently didn't believe that when they started hyping the fact that they have this Mythos model that is so powerful and so important that it needs to be protected from the world, except for 40 companies that do our biggest enterprise stuff, yada, yada, yada. I don't like when Dario Amodei goes out and talks about how every white collar job is going to go away in a year. I don't think it's real. And I think that it's hypocritical for him to say it when he is hiring people at an insane clip. I will believe that AI is causing material job loss in the economy when OpenAI and Anthropic stop hiring every fucking buddy they can for increasingly more money than they were going to hire them for 5 months ago. It does seem to be that there is a hiring boom that is happening from AI exposed industries, not a contraction. So take that with a grain of salt. Again, I am gang affiliated on one side of this particular war, but I'm not a gigantic fan of that. And I think that they are, I don't know. There's a whole nother thing about the Vatican, but I don't want to get into that. Oh Jesus, we have so many. I know. All right, we're gonna have to cut this because I have to get to the fucking airport.
I want to do the Oklahoma one though.
Okay, but also earthquakes, right? I was living in Stillwater, Oklahoma, while studying at OSU from 2010 to 2015. One afternoon, the house I lived in began to violently shake and lurch. It was the first time I experienced an earthquake, and I nearly shit myself. There was a boom in oil extraction using hydraulic fracturing in central Oklahoma starting in the late 2000s, and everyone from Halliburton to backwater wildcatters were getting theirs. While the act of fracking doesn't meaningfully destabilize the earth, the disposal of the contaminated wastewater sure can. The method du jour for disposing of the crap was to dig a well deep and just, well, shoot it down so far in the earth nobody would care. Anyway, turns out when you lube up a bunch of fault lines with diluted dinosaur juice, they get a little animated. Thus began a bizarre plague of earthquakes in central Oklahoma, with culminated in a magnitude 5.8 earthquake in 2016. For a brief period, we had more earthquakes than California. Oops. Keaton?
Yeah. Hey, first of all, shout out to somebody from the Sooner State, or at least a temporary person that was there. Hi, I enjoyed this. I believe in trade-offs, and I think most people in Oklahoma would rather put up with earthquakes than risk being a Rust Belt state. I no longer live there. I would rather Oklahoma have earthquakes than lose all of that economic development. I think if you put it up to a vote, it would be not difficult at all in the state. But also, I think it's worth pointing out that it's not all caps earthquakes. Like there's the biggest one that you referenced, I think, was out in Pawnee, and it was 5.8, which is a big one. Most of them are much, much smaller than that. To my knowledge, no one in Oklahoma has ever died from an earthquake. There's been a minimal amount of property damage. It is dwarfed by the tornadoes that come through every year. It's just not a very big problem. And on the flip side, about 15% of the jobs in Oklahoma come from energy. About 20% of the overall GDP of the state comes from energy. That funds schools, that funds roads, that funds lots of different things. I wouldn't get rid of it. I think to harken back to our earlier conversation, if and I'm not saying this is you because I don't know you, if you think of all earthquakes as a form of kinetic sin, then this is a really bad thing. If you think in terms of trade-offs, then I'm willing to accept a little bit of earth shaking in order to have that much economic progress in the state.
What's the largest earthquake you've ever been in?
A couple in LA, but they weren't very big. They were small. I think maybe I experienced one in Oklahoma.
But like, do you know what it was
minimal
on the Richter scale?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Do you?
Because a 5.8, like, that's not small. I can imagine, and especially if they're happening all the time. Like, even if they're 3s and 4s, if you don't know what that is, and if your house wasn't built to withstand that, like, that can mess with your foundation. It can scare the shit out of your family. I imagine if you have kids, putting up with constant earthquakes might be more important to you than the energy economy.
I doubt it. I think if you ask Oklahomans, do you want to be a poor state or do you want to have earthquakes? I think that they would much rather have earthquakes. Now, that being said, for the reasons that you bring up, Oklahoma regulators reduced the wastewater injection process, the reclamation process, and they also shut down some wells. So the earthquake frequency has reduced in Oklahoma anyway.
Time. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
regulation did some work for him.
Hey, I'm not opposed to smart regulation. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, like, there are trade-offs, and like, what's the trade-off you want to do? For me, and I think most Oklahomans, like, if it was just yes or no, we'd go with yes. I think having it and having some regulations.
You can't have an economy without allowing that much fracking and wastewater injection. Like, Oklahoma also has land where they could put solar panels, and that's energy too. So it's like they're making these decisions. And I think there are, like, I'd be curious to hear from more people from Oklahoma. I know we don't do emails on top of emails, but that might be a trade. Personally, that might be a trade-off you're willing to make. But I bet parents who experience those earthquakes would feel differently.
I bet it would greatly depend where they're getting the money for those kids from. If they're getting it from the oil and gas industry, or their town is coming from oil and gas, I think my guess is they'd rather the earthquakes than go Rust Belt.
Old Frax writes, I was an anti-fracking protester. Older and wiser, I realized that our protest was led by communist agents who moved on to other places, probably anti-data center protests.
Okay.
And then I don't know.
I'd actually, if we can end the keep on trucking one. I'm curious about the question at the end.
Okay. One, I just want to write just one thing about the data center in Utah. This is the place for some bullshit, writes. It's a good thing that the well-known environmental warriors in Box Elder County, Utah are protecting Hansel Valley. I just want to stop there. This is my commentary on this email. But I was immediately swayed that this was a local when they just referred to Box Elder County and Hansel Valley, which I have no fucking connection to, but sounds like a local who's like making a jerk off motion because of the reputation of the people of Box Elder County and Hansel Valley. Anyway, the data centers might hurt the already exploited desert environment that's currently being preserved by the large manufacturing sector in Box Elder County. Sorry for the sarcasm. As someone from Utah, I can say that the opposition is 80% NIMBYism, 15% fear of new technology, and 5% legitimate concerns over power. Okay, you want
Just the last
keep
one.
on trucking. I was fortunate enough to follow up your podcast discussion about self-driving semi-trucks by hearing Sarah Isger discuss what she considers to be the most important 9-0 Supreme Court decisions of the last few decades. Montgomery v. Caribbean Transport 2 LLC. It allows people to now sue trucking brokerage companies in state court. This will likely result in stricter driving safety standards with the trade-off of fewer truck drivers and increased shipping costs. Considering how Waymo touts their safety record as being safer than human drivers and driverless semis would allow semis to do most of their work during low traffic hours, aka nighttime, I wonder what your thoughts are on this. Will the decision accelerate the growth of driverless semis, or will brokerage companies become even more wary of new driverless vehicles and the liability that could come with it?
What do you think?
Wait, you had me read this so I could answer it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about the brokerage industry to know whether or not, I mean, the cost would be, the cost of benefit would be, one, do they have the money to outlay for these semis, which are going to be fucking insanely expensive. And unlike a human driver, which I don't know whether or not the human driver buys their own or rents their own car, and like the brokerage essentially, works as kind of like a leasing agent for the drivers, but the drivers maintain their own insurance. Like this would be a fundamental change in the way, if these work the way I'm guessing they work, of their businesses. They would be a lot more in terms of capital outlay. They would be a lot more in terms of their own liability for this tech in a way that they were not before. So my suspicion is that if all things tend to kind of go along the way that they went along, that nothing much will change in terms of humans using it. Now, where I think you will probably see more disruption are new companies that come in, or manufacturers of these kind of semi-trucks that say, hey, we want to get in this game because we're producing these things at cost. And so we want to be involved in this on some level. So does Tesla get involved in shipping? Does Waymo get involved in shipping? I don't know. But in terms of the brokerages themselves, like that exist today, my suspicion is that changing their entire business model overnight would be more daunting than just saying we've got less drivers that have to get higher insurance.
So my crystal ball,
yeah,
I think truckers are fucked. I think that 10 years from now, there'll be very few long distance truckers because not only because the liability for having humans as drivers is a problem, but also because the studies with these Waymos and stuff, I have my issues with the Waymos, everyone from Austin does. But once they work out the bugs, they are drastically safer than human drivers. And if you think about long distance trucking, one of the problems that has been constantly talked about in Congress is the fact that drivers need to sleep. And so these companies were pushing their drivers to go further and further. So we've had to regulate that they need breaks and da-da-da-da-da. A driverless truck can just keep going. It doesn't need sleepy time for its human drivers.
Can I counterpoint that?
Sure. I don't want this to be the case. Out of all the AI predictions, this is the one that I feel most strongly in my bones is coming.
It's been a long time since a pilot has had to keep his hands on the sticks on an airplane from one location to another.
So you think they'll just be like passenger princess?
In case.
That's my prediction.
In case shit goes bad.
That'd be good.
In case that's happening. Yeah, you want somebody that knows what the fuck they're doing.
I think liability is exactly why that job's not going to go away. I think it's going to, like we've had little things the last 10, 20 years now where truckers now have alarm. I don't know what percentage of them, but there's a feature that some trucks have where if you start to go to sleep, an alarm will go off to wake you up, right? Like, I think AI is going to do a lot of that, but I don't think they're going to. I could be wrong about this. I'm like 60% confident of this, 40% with Jen, but I don't think that's going to disappear.
Yeah, I don't know. I also think that we're bad at making these predictions. Like, it's very hard to kind of see the future.
I think just because of the safety between mechanic drivers and human drivers, I think the crashes will go down so much, especially with highway travel. Like, I-10 is an incredibly boring road, and you don't have to take any turns if you don't have to do bathroom breaks or any of those things. Like, you can just do a straight shot. Technology-wise, when I look at the promise of it and the amount of safety that it would increase for everyone who's on the road, I just kind of think it's inevitable. Now, what I would hope for the truckers, which it's an idea that you just had and I really like it, let them put a little bed in there. I don't care if they don't do shit, but if they're there to make sure that if it does veer off the road or if there is a flood or if like whatever happens, to have a person there, great. And that way we still have just as many humans employed for something that I do think is worthwhile. But out of all the industries, it's trucking where I'm just like, I do not see them operating the way they do now 10 years from now.
I was talking to some people that are involved in Waymo or Waymo adjacent stuff when I was in California. They're fucking expensive. Those vehicles,
Jags, yeah.
Those vehicles are really, but also it's all the equipment on it.
Yeah.
And so that was like, Tesla has full self-driving. Trust me, when you're in a Tesla, it's amazing. It's great to have. I would like to have a Tesla so I could have that feature, but you want your hands on the wheel because every once in a while, 95% effective means that 5% you really need your fucking hands on the wheel.
Yeah.
The Waymos are different because they have specific LiDAR things that are there, but that makes it a lot more expensive to do.
Yeah. But so much safer.
But it's safer, but also sometimes out of an abundance of caution, it doesn't do things that other trucks would do. And so it goes slower. Sometimes it gets itself into situations where it can't get out of. You're probably going to want somebody in there for like, when you're talking about shipments that need to get to point A to point B at a certain time. I don't know. I think that people would be in there. I guess, again, it's like we have this idea in our brain. I think we also had this with the dawn of the personal computer, like where our fixation is on full automation when the reality is it's going to be safer. It may well be faster because you are able to squeeze more out of it with somebody who is like half awake as opposed to that you wouldn't feel comfortable if they were actually like had their, hands on the wheel and their feet on the gas. But there's still a human there just in case, because that shipment does need to get there. And if in case something fucks up, there's a LiDAR thing, there's a swarm of geese that hit one of the LiDAR things that fucks it up. Like, you never know. A bunch of crazy shit happens. Eventually you need a pilot. Put the captain. Wait, no, I was going to say Captain Phillips. He was the dork that got taken over by the Somali pirates.
You could maybe I was talking to somebody about this.
Who is the captain man who put it in the Hudson?
Sully Sullenberger.
Captain Sully. You're going to need a Captain Sully every once in a while.
Yeah,
was
I agree with that.
I can't remember if it was you guys I was talking to. It might have been you. It might have been one of my friends went, he's like, no, the Heat and Justin position's wrong on this because, as I recall, if you were to have a separate road that just AI trucks drove on, you wouldn't need people anymore. And I'm thinking about that. I'm like, it sounds like you're describing a train. I think we already have that technology. I think interesting. So there'd be like a bunch of non-human boxes that are transported on this one specific line just for freight. Yeah, we've had that for a while now.
Well, that's whenever anybody makes that point, it's like, good luck getting the separate road built, interconnected throughout all 50 states. Like, I look forward to your lobbying efforts. Congratulations. It takes fucking 1 million years to expand a highway that needs to be expanded. And you have to have all these bike riding psychopaths that are screaming and yelling about how it's just going to mean more humans are happy. Like, all right, whatever. Enough.
Well, I mean, as a person who has massive road anxiety, what I do like about the idea of the trucks being autonomous is we can just give them the right lane. What's so scary about being on the highways when they're trying to pass each other and then they're like coming into your lane and they're going wicked fast. And it's just like, if they're all going the same speed, following each other, they have their lane, we have ours. I think it's safer for everyone. So I don't mind them being on my roads. I actually mind it the way it is now. They scare me now with the humans with the cigarette out the window. And like, those are the people that freak me out.
Yeah, but they'll honk the horn if you make the motion.
They will. And they'll do it for me. I usually ask them to.
Mm-hmm. Sure they will. We're Not Wrong is a production of Dog and Pony Show Audio. Our editor is Will Saddleberg on PX3 this week. We welcome Brian Brushwood. Brian Brushwood, our friend, has spent a lot of time with deep fakes and AI stuff. And so I took him through a little film festival of the AI videos of Spencer Pratt's campaign for mayor in LA. I had him critique them and take a look at them, where they are interesting, where they are horrifying, and everything in between. So if you want a little sampling of what people are talking about with the Spencer Pratt ads, go ahead and check that out. And I'll tell you what, next time that we all gather together, that will happen. Yeah. And we will find out whether or not they were enough to push him into the top 2 for the mayorship of Los Angeles. And then Friday, if we can fucking schedule it, Michael Tracy will be on. This guy, Jesus. Jen, what's sizzling on the dish?
Well, right now I still have the most recent episode that's up at this moment is the summary of last month, but we are working on a episode for parents. Why Claire and I listened to a hearing that was about the effect that your screen time is having on kids. And I learned a lot, especially about like the educational issues with screens. We talk a lot about the emotional stuff in social media, and that's in there, of course, but the education stuff kind of blew my mind. And so, we should have that done by the end of the month.
More screens? Screens are great?
No, definitely not. Okay. But the details were fascinating.
Yeah. Bella's
just in case
allowed.
You want to screen babysitting your kid for the summer, you might want to think twice about it.
No,
I'm going to give you the data.
We were told by the pediatrician, no screens until 2. She's about to be 2 at the end of the summer. She is not really allowed. We broke down on the plane on the way back from California. We gave her a couple Miss Rachel videos, but other than that, she's not allowed to have the screens.
That's good. That's really
Yeah, I showed when I was visiting, I showed her pictures of my dog and she was enchanted, and then realized that she'd never seen an iPhone before, or at least it was like eye candy that she was not excited. I was like, I need to pull
she
back
does.
on this.
She picks up our phone and just holds it to her ear and goes, hello, hello.
She knows what a real phone
my
is.
buddy, all right, my buddy Austin, who I make funny videos with at Reason, I was at his house a couple of days ago. His son is an early teenager, and he was like, Dad, can I have a smartphone? And Austin's like, no, we're not going to do that. And I was like, hey, what if you got like a block of wood as like a training phone, like training wheels? I'm going to get you a block of wood and I'll paint little apps on it. And he's like, that's a dumb idea. So I went on Amazon. Apparently you can buy defunct iPhones that don't work for $12. And I sent it to that kid, which I think is a really funny fuck you gift.
I like that.
They're selling, there's a service that does dial-up phones now. Like they're not real dial-up. They're like voice over IP. So you run it over your internet, but it is a phone number that people can call. That's like now in vogue with parents.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. Just a way to talk to friends
because that's the number one pushback. These parents are like, oh, well, every kid has a phone, so my kid needs a phone. It's like, well, if you want to just have a phone for communication, fine. It doesn't mean they need to have YouTube in their pocket. Like there's a difference between a phone and, the supercomputer in their pockets.
Heaton, who stumbled into the political orphanage this week.
I have a great episode this week. I loved the guest and I really loved the book. I like any time that I get a new lens to look at the world through. So Stephen Davies is the guest. He wrote a book called The New Realignment. And the premise to it is that in any democracy, you're always going to have a coalition of two different groups on some particular issue. If we go back to like the 1770s, what defined whether you were on one side or the other was, are you on team princes, thrones, bishops, historic rights, or are you on team Republican reform? But that's not the same dividing line that happened in the 19th century. Then it was slavery. Like how you felt about economics, kind of secondary to how you felt about slavery. What you thought about, I don't know, infrastructure, secondary to were you an abolition or slavery. The 20th century, all economics. 20th century was a big fight about how much state do we want to run the economy? Do we want low taxes, low regulation, high taxes, high regulation, to the point where if you wanted high taxes and you wanted to regulate corporations, but you were pro-life and pro-gun, most people in the 90s would be described, well, you're center-left, right? If you were for low taxes, low regulation, but you were for gay marriage, we'd say, well, you're center-right, because economics was the defining thing. According to Stephen Davies, that is now passé. That argument of what side of the aisle are you on based on economics, that is no longer the fight that society is having. It is no longer the fight that society is going into. And it's part of why the last 10 years have seemed so chaotic and weird. We look at a lot of politicians and go, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why are the Republicans doing that? Why are the Democrats doing that? It's because the fault lines are changing. The tectonic plates are shifting. And what they're going to look like is what we talk about on the Political Orphanage.
Look at that. That's a tease. But that'll wrap it up for us today. Until next time, for Jen Briney and Andrew Heaton, I'm Justin Robert Young, saying, we're not wrong. And Xavier Becerra certainly isn't. Vote June 2nd.
Dog and Pony Show audio.